What's up, all you minties? Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, and join me today for an overview of the Elvira Mistress of the Dark, the Classic Years Omnibus Volume 1 from Dynamite. So, please stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody. Before getting started, a huge thank you to Vincent Faust and the folks at Dynamite for sending us a copy of the Elvira Mistress of the Dark, the Classic Years Omnibus Volume 1. This is the hardcover edition, but they were kind enough to send us also the trade paperback, the softcover edition, which we will be giving away this Saturday during our Q&A. So thank you again to the folks at Dynamite for doing that. Ooh, she almost fell over. All right, so really quick, though, I did want to compare. Even though this is a hardcover and it looks a little bit taller than the trade paperback, they are the exact same dimensions as far as the pages. Here's what the spines look like. Again, the trade paperback on the left and the hardcover on the right. The big difference, of course, also being the price. The trade is $34.99, while the hardcover is $49.99. And I believe there's also a limited edition signed version of the hardcover, only available through Dynamite as of this video. Now, Dynamite's website is the only place you can purchase these books until they come out in the direct market and book market, which should be sometime this month. So, other than that, of course, the other big difference in the two is that the softcover has glued binding, while the hardcover has sewn binding. And of course, the other big difference is the hardcover also has a dust jacket. So here's what the flaps look like. You have images of Elvira from different artists, and then the back of the book. Actually, the images are all over the dust jacket, and they are also in the background of the board here, the front board. So Elvira Mistress of the Dark, the Classic Years Omnibus, Dynamite up there. And as you can tell, volume is still after the one, just like in the dust jacket. And then the back, you see some cleavage there. This particular image in the back. So the way that this looks, it is glossy, the finish on the actual board. It's not a flat finish to it, so it is glossy, so you can see, there we go, the light reflecting off. Well, right, let's get this book open, talk about a little bit of the stories in here, and show off that artwork. So let's get this book opened here. We have some white end paper, the Classic Years Omnibus Volume 1, and another beautiful image of Elvira there. There's a forward here by Richard Howell, who was there at Claypool Comics from the very beginning. And he talks about the formation of Claypool Comics and how they got Elvira. Cassandra is her real name. How they got her involved in this project. So he talks about the formation with Ed Villa, a close friend of his, and how they got together to talk to Cassandra Peterson about getting the rights to print stories about Elvira. Because Elvira had been seen in comics before. I remember DC Comics had her in it, but it's just a 4-page forward. Speaking of pages, the book has 615 pages. Here is your table of contents and where you will find each of these issues. So this does collect the first 27 issues of this particular series. That went well into the 160s, I believe. So there, hopefully, if this sells well enough, there will be more. So kicking it off with Elvira, issue number 1 from Claypool Comics. And you're going to recognize some names. You're going to recognize some big names here that I had never read any of these stories. And I'll be honest, I haven't finished reading this. I just got this a couple of days ago. And I've read just here and there, because they're not really a continuous story going on. You can read issue 4 without having read issue 1 and 2. But you're going to find names in here like Paul Dini, Kurt Busiek, Mary Jo Duffy, Dave Cockrum. I'll show some of his artwork here in a little bit. And then just Jim Mooney is like just artists that I was taken back. Actually, I was taken back by the fact that Kurt Busiek was writing some of this stuff along with Paul Dini. And it's early. I mean, this is like early Kurt Busiek stuff before Marvels, before he went over and did Astro City, and before Kurt Busiek really became a staple of comics, or probably one of the biggest comic historians out there in the world today. He was doing Elvira. And I love that this came from a place of love and admiration for Cassandra Peterson's Elvira. Yes, her outfit is as revealing as it is in the TV show and the movies. But what I did like about her, at least from the stories that I've read, is that she realizes what effect she has on men and what she is. So the person that really jokes about her cleavage or the size of her boobs is Elvira herself. Kind of like the way that the character Elvira does in the movies or in the TV show or anytime she's ever made an appearance like the Super Bowl. By the way, interviewing her was one of my highlights of the channel here. But as you can probably tell, this is a lot different than things like EC Comics, like Haunt of Fear, Vault of Horror, Tales from the Crypt, or even the DC stuff like House of Mystery and House of Secrets, because this does have an introduction from Elvira introducing the story, but the story is about her. It's not like short stories or short anthologies featuring other characters. It features her. It's her story. It's the story of Elvira. For example, the very first issue features this character who's the new station manager. What's her name? Rosalind. And she just is not a fan of Elvira and the example that she is setting out there for people. So she can't fire her because Elvira has a contract. So then she just tries to make Elvira look foolish by making her be a host on other type of shows, like a cooking show and things like that. Of course, this all backfires on her when Elvira just does each thing that she's told to do and does it the way that Elvira would do. There are some interesting appearances, and that's just one of the stories in here. There's also like a high school reunion. There's also a kid that turns into a werewolf because, well, no, that's funny, so you can find out for yourself. But most of these things are happening like in our world. And yes, you do see some monster creatures show up in here from Universal Monsters. You get Vincent Price does make an appearance, or at least his character. What really surprised me is the appearances of Star Wars characters or Star Trek characters. David Letterman I get, but I don't know. It's very tongue-in-cheek and never takes itself seriously from the stories that I've read. Again, just throwing it all out there. I think I've read a total of 4 stories so far. Each of the covers are collected in their... Oh my goodness. Where the hell was I? Are collected in color. That's what I meant to say. And it is a photo cover. The inside, the internal artwork from each of the artists, whether it's James Fry or Dave Cockrum, Jim Mooney, they are all done in black and white. But each of the covers, for example, issue number 5, each one of these was $250, huh? Okay. So that's a pretty good deal for this book. 27 issues. Anyway, these are all in color and they're all photos of Elvira. And I do like the way that each of the artists portrays her in a different way. Some of them, she's a little more cartoony. Some of them are really, really sexy. I don't know. Man, it's hard to... Man, there are some good artists in here, though. Tom Simonton, I think, is my favorite that draws her. He always draws her in these poses that are ridiculous, but always finds a way to cover her up. All the goodie bits, right? Like, those are all covered up really nice. So... as a kid that was reading 90s comics at the time, this was a comic that slipped under my radar. I knew about the other comic that Claypool was doing at the time, the Soul Searchers, but I had no idea about this Elvira comic until Dynamite approached me about making the announcement of the book. So it was a Kickstarter, and now it's going to be available at comic book stores. And here's the... let's look at Dave Cockrum's artwork. Oh, you do get the appearance of Count Dracula, by the way. This is one of the other issues I read. And let's see. Oh, there's a mini version of her that appears. What's her name? Suspira. It's cute. Here we go. This is Dave Cockrum's artwork right here. I'm kind of glad it's in black and white. I can't imagine that looking any better in color. So the paper quality they are using for both this and the trade paperback is this glossy paper. It is thick, not as thick as like the old school DC Omnibus paper, but it is thick. However, more so in the trade or in the softcover version, you can see a little bit of the art bleed through from the other side. But it's only, when you have a lot of white spaces, which does happen a lot in this particular book. And the only other thing I noticed is that it's a little bit darker, like the artwork on the softcover, than it is on the hardcover. Just a slight. And it could just be these 2 copies that I have. But other than that, I mean, it's identical. The page count, every extra is in there, as well as it's in here in this hardcover edition. But this is the way that it looks. There is an outro by Kurt Busiek. Let's get to that. Oh, there is a story here that's just done in words. I believe this is from issue number 26. But there is an outro right here from Kurt Busiek talking about how hard of a time he had writing the character, because there are a lot of Kurt Busiek stories in here, more so than the Paul Dini stories. And then, of course, Richard Howell providing a lot of this stuff in here. But he talked about the differences between doing a joke with Elvira than joking with Spider-Man. And then other Elvira books, trade paperbacks from Dynamite. And I showed the binding a little bit earlier, but the thing I didn't talk about was this. That's right. A ribbon! You all know I love my ribbons. Doesn't take much for me. I get excited over these things. It's just a little nice little extra, I think. One thing you probably did notice whenever I was showing the trade paperback, since it is trade paperback size and the hardcover is, just it's the same dimensions of the paper, it is smaller than your Marvel and DC Omnibus. So this is the dimensions of a trade paperback. So that is something to keep in mind. But that, as they say, is that. Now, when this book is available, don't forget to check out our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your confirmation email from CGN, reply back to that email and let them know near mint condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and quick comparison to the trade paperback. Let me know in the comments down below if you've ever read this series, if this is your first time reading it. If you're going in blind, which one you're going to get, the trade paperback version or the hardcover version, and if you want to see future volumes. Again, this was the Uncanny Omar. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and ring that bell for notifications to let you know when our videos are going live. We are on Spreadshop and on Patreon. Amazing ways to support the channel, if you can do so. And more importantly, all of you, stay healthy, stay safe out there. Much love.